Snow fell in heavy sheets across the Alaskan wilderness. Cold, sharp winds swept through the trees, whispering secrets through the pine branches. Deep in the forest, far from any road or town, a small shelter stood half buried in snow. Smoke curled out of a metal pipe on top, barely visible in the storm. Inside, a fire crackled quietly. Tools hung neatly on the walls. Animal bones sat on a wooden table, cleaned, sharpened into tools. Cal Becker crouched near the fire, carving wood with a handmade knife. His face was rough and weathered, the kind that told a story without needing words. A long scar ran down his cheek. His hands moved slowly, carefully, calm, focused. Outside, he had set snares and motion alarms. In this frozen place, there were wolves, bears, and worse. But Cal knew how to survive. He had done it alone for years. He didn't trust people. Not anymore. Cal stood and went to the door. He opened it just enough to scan the tree line through the blowing snow. His breath formed clouds in the air. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. He stepped outside, his boots crunching the snow. The cold didn't bother him. He liked it. It made him sharper. As he walked, he checked the traps one by one. A rabbit. Broken wire. Scratches on a tree that hadn't been there before. He frowned. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small handmade scanner. Just a hobby of something he'd built from scavenged parts, tuned to strange frequencies. Mostly junk. But tonight, it beeped once, twice, then steady. His head snapped up. The wind stopped. No sound. Not even the trees moved. Strange pressure pushed down on him, like the air was too thick. Cal took one step back toward his cabin. The snow around him lifted gently into the air, and then everything went black. He woke up lying on a cold, hard surface. Bright light stung his eyes. The air smelled of metal, heat, and something unnatural. He blinked, trying to adjust. His jacket was gone. His boots, too. He wore only thin clothes like hospital fabric. His wrists were marked where something had held him down. He sat up slowly. Around him, smooth walls glowed with pale light. No corners, no shadows. There was no door. Just silence. Until it wasn't silent. A shape appeared beyond the wall. It flickered into view like a ghost, a tall creature with thin arms, for eyes and long fingers. Its skin looked like dark glass. Behind it, more of them stood, whispering in a language that wasn't meant for human ears. The wall shifted and opened. The alien stepped in. It didn't speak. It simply watched him, head tilted. Then it clicked its fingers. Instantly, a loud tone rang in Cal's skull sharp, drilling pain. He gritted his teeth, refusing to scream. Another alien entered. This one held a floating orb. It scanned him. From head to toe, red lights danced across his skin. They said nothing, did nothing. Then they turned and left. The wall sealed again. Cal was alone. But he wasn't helpless. He took slow, deep breaths, focused thought. He remembered something from survival training. When captured, observe everything. Every detail is a weapon. First the walls. Seamless. Yes, but with a slight hum. Vents, energy lines. Then the room temperature. Not cold enough to kill, but not warm either. Deliberate discomfort. He stood and walked the perimeter, pressing his hands to the surface. One panel gave slightly more than the others. He tapped it, hollow. Good. He needed tools. He looked down at his fingers, then at the floor. They had left a bone shard in the corner, probably from his arm scanned discarded like trash. He crouched, picked it up, and began to shape it against the wall slowly, carefully. He had carved knives from stone before. He could work with this. Time passed, or maybe it didn't. There was no way to tell. The wall opened again without warning. This time, they came in with guards. 2 tall creatures with glowing staffs. One of them pointed and made a strange gesture. The message was clear. Move. Cal stared at them. His mind raced. He walked forward, slow and steady, pretending to obey. They led him down a curving corridor. Light shifted as he walked. The floor felt alive, like it responded to his weight. They entered a massive chamber. It looked like a jungle. But not Earth's jungle. Purple trees, glowing vines, and strange creatures moved in the shadows. The aliens shoved him inside, then sealed the door. The message was clear again: survive. He stepped forward carefully, crouching low. He picked up a broken branch and tested its weight. Not strong, useless. Then he heard it. Something big was moving in the dark. Fast, heavy steps. A creature burst through the brush like a tiger, but with 6 legs and a jaw that split sideways. It roared. Cal ran. He zigzagged through the strange trees, ducking under vines, searching for high ground. Found a broken piece of metal sticking from a tree trunk, a leftover from a previous test subject. Maybe. He grabbed it. The beast charged again. Cal stood his ground, breathing hard. At the last second, he dodged and jammed the metal into its side. It screamed. Blood hissed from the wound, bright green and steaming. The beast staggered, then fled. Cal climbed a tree and stayed there for hours, watching, learning, waiting. The plants here responded to heat, the animals to vibration. He took mental notes, stored every detail. This wasn't a prison, it was a hunting game. They wanted to watch him die. Back in the control room, the aliens watched calmly. Primitive subject displays surprising adaptation, one said. High pain resistance, fast learning curve, should expire within 72 hours. Another chuckled. Still just an Earth animal. Now they had no idea what they had taken. Cal sat in. The tree, sharpening the metal piece against a rock, eyes fixed on the jungle below. He had survived in every wilderness Earth had thrown at him. Desert, ocean, Arctic. This alien jungle was just another challenge, and he wasn't planning to die. He was planning to escape, and when he did, they would wish they had left him on Earth. The alien speakers crackled again, broadcasting an unintelligible message into the jungle. Light shifted. Second creature was released. Bigger, faster. It charged straight toward Cal's tree. He didn't wait. He rolled hard on landing, scraped his arm, but kept moving. The thing behind him was roaring like thunder. He ran toward a thicket of glowing plants, remembering how they curled away from heat. He lit a stick using friction against the rock he'd sharpened the metal with. Crude fire, but enough. The plants curled back instantly, revealing a pit deep, and Dark Cal slid down the side into the shadows just as the creature lunged. It crashed into the edge and snarled. He stayed perfectly still, then smiled. They thought they had trapped a human. They had trapped a survivor and now was hunting them. Snow swirled across the endless black above, broken only by the jagged shapes of alien trees glowing with blue veins. Cal Becker crouched in the pit, breathing through clenched teeth. The alien jungle above him had gone quiet. That wasn't good. Silence in a forest and Earth, or wherever this place was, usually meant something worse was coming. He touched his ribs. Sore but not broken. He'd hit the ground hard after jumping to escape the 6-legged beast. The creature hadn't followed. Not yet. But it would. He checked his gear. Still nothing. No tools. No boots. Just the sharp metal shard he'd found earlier, wrapped in some jungle vine for grip. Not much, but it was enough. It had to be. He crept along the base of the pit. Glowing moss lit the way, giving off a faint smell like burning plastic. The ground pulsed under his feet, alive, like everything else in this nightmare above. Claws scraped rock. The creature was back. Cal pressed himself against the pit wall and slowed his breathing. On Earth, he'd once hidden from a mountain lion by standing perfectly still for an hour. This wasn't Earth, but instinct worked everywhere. The creature growled. It didn't jump down. Instead, it stalked the rim, sniffing, hunting. Smarkow's mind raced. They were testing him, watching. Every move. He looked up and saw the glint of a small orb, high in the trees, barely visible. A floating drone, recording everything. He stared at it, then smiled. Good. Let them watch. He pulled a sharp root from the wall, strong, tough, wrapped it around the metal shard, tying a crude knot. A spear, if only barely. Then he climbed slowly. Carefully, every movement planned. He stopped halfway, waiting for the creature to circle to the far side of the pit. When it did, he moved fast. He sprang up, launched from the pit's edge, and drove the spear deep into the beast's side. It howled, its roar shaking the trees. Cal rolled off its back, hit the ground, and ran. The creature chased him, blood spraying behind it. But now it was slower. Limping, he sprinted toward the trees where strange vines hung like traps. He jumped and grabbed one, letting it swing him across a wide gap where the ground had split into a deep ravine. The beast tried to follow, its wounded leg caught. It slipped, lost balance, and fell. Screeching into the pit below, Cal landed hard, knees buckling, then stood and looked down. No movement. He exhaled, but there was no time to rest. The lights in the jungle shifted, again this time turning red. He looked up. The walls of the arena opened. Another door. It's a new section. They weren't done with him. In a control chamber high above, a group of Zhutak scientists stood around a floating display. Subject 09A has exceeded predicted survival. Time by 300%, one said, voice sharp like metal scraping glass. Primitive tool usage. Adaptive behavior. Threat level rising. Shall we eliminate? A taller Zhutak raised its claw. No. Increase the pressure. Observe stress response. The hive must know the limits of human resilience. Below, Cal stepped into the new area. This one was different. No jungle, no beasts, just metal walls, like a maze. The air was hot, heavy. His breath fogged slightly like the oxygen mix had changed. He kept walking. Eyes sharp, footsteps echoed behind. Him, he froze. Not an animal this time. Something walking upright. Heavy. Steady. He backed into a corner, crouched low, and waited. A figure stepped into view. It wasn't Zhutak. It was another human. A woman. Dirty, thin, scars across her arms. Her eyes wide with fear and confusion, she looked at him like she didn't believe he was real. Who are you? She whispered. Cal, he said, voice low. Who are you? Lieutenant Sarah Ng, Navy Recon, captured 2. I don't know how long ago. He stepped closer. She flinched. I'm not here to hurt you, he said. I'm getting out of here. You can come with me. But I don't slow down. She nodded slowly. I've tried. There's no way out. Cal smiled slightly. There's always a way. Lights flickered. New sound. Grinding metal. Walls shifted. Maze was moving. He looked at her. Run. They took off together as the metal corridors twisted around them. Floor panels dropped. Walls slid to block their paths. Cal counted steps. Tracked turns like a rat in a lab. But he wasn't a rat. He was the predator. And now he had partner. They found a ventilation shaft and climbed inside. The air was thick, stale. Pipes ran along the top. Steam hissed from valves. Cal touched one. Hot, hot. He grinned. Booby trap time. They waited in silence as a patrol of small drones hovered past the hallway outside. When the coast was clear, Cal ripped a pipe from the wall and aimed the jet of steam toward the next patrol route. Get ready, he said. The drones returned. One flew right through the steam jet and burst into flames. The others scattered, alarms blaring. He grabbed Sarah's arm. Now, they ran again, past the drones, into a new sector. This one had consoles, lights, screens. They'd reached the edge of the observation area. Cal stared at the control panels, alien symbols. But tech was tech. He started pushing buttons. 1. Screen lit up, showing dozens of cells. They're prisoners, humans, aliens, some still alive. Most weren't. Sarah gasped. We're not the first. No, Cal said. We'll be the last. He hit another panel. One door opened. A hallway. Bright light at the end, a trap. Probably. He walked toward it anyway. Sarah followed, heart pounding, as they reached the light. Cal stopped and looked at the floating orb overhead. "You're watching," he said. "Good." Then he stared directly into the drone. "I'm coming for you." The door slid open, and they stepped through. The light from the open door faded behind them, swallowed by the metallic corridor they now faced. Unlike the jungle or the maze, this new area felt wrong. The air buzzed faintly, as if alive. The walls pulsed with a soft glow, red, then green, then back to red again. Cal Becker moved slowly, spear in hand, muscles tense. Behind him, Sarah stepped lightly, eyes scanning everything. "I don't like this," she muttered. "Me neither," Cal said. "Means we're getting close." They came to a split in the corridor, led to a soft humming sound, deep and rhythmic. Right led to silence and darkness. Cal pointed left. "Power source, maybe command." Sarah nodded, and they moved. As they crept forward, the walls seemed to shift subtly behind them, like the ship itself was breathing. It wasn't just architecture anymore. It was alive, or something close to it. They reached a wide chamber, dimly lit and filled with strange machines, half organic, covered in fleshy cables that pulsed like veins. In the center floated a large crystal suspended in a web of metal limbs. It glowed. From within, bright, dangerous. "That's the engine," Cal said quietly. "Looks like a brain," Sarah whispered. They stepped inside carefully, eyes on the shadows. Then they heard a low hiss. A guard, 10 feet tall, all black armor, 6 limbs, a long staff crackling with energy. Hadn't seen them yet. Cal crouched, analyzing. The guard circled slowly around the crystal, checking control panels. Cal spotted a gap between 2 machines. He looked at Sarah. Distraction. She nodded, picked up a piece of debris, and threw it across the room. Clang. The guard snapped around and marched toward the sound. Cal moved fast, silent. He slipped behind the creature. Raised his spear butt. It spun faster than anything he'd fought before. The staff swung down. Cal dodged barely. The floor cracked where the energy struck. He rolled to the side, came up with the spear, and stabbed Lewin to the joint behind the leg. The guard screeched. Spinning wildly, Sarah ran forward, picked up the fallen staff. The creature raised an arm too late. She slammed the weapon into its chest. Sparks exploded. Armor cracked. Cal drove the spear through its neck. It fell, hard, twitching once. Then still they backed away. "Breathing hard, fast," Sarah said. "Too fast." "They're upgrading," Cal muttered, "adapting to us." Looked at the staff. It was warm in his hands, pulsing like a heartbeat. It's keyed to their energy. It might be useful. He slung it across his back and turned to the crystal. The machines around it pulsed with life. Alien code ran along the surface's symbols he didn't recognize but could almost feel. He stepped closer. Something shifted in the room. A whisper, not out loud in his mind. The crystal was watching. It wasn't just power. It was sentient. He reached out, stopped an inch from the surface. "I wouldn't touch that," Sarah said, voice shaking. "Not yet." He backed away. "We need to map this place, learn its weak points. We're not escaping anymore. We're taking this whole thing down." Looked at him. "You're serious?" "They took me from my land, tested me like an animal. That's war." He moved toward a nearby console. The alien interface shimmered beneath his fingers. To his surprise, it responded. Blue light glowed. A screen flickered on. Dozens of alien characters scrolled past. Then words in English. User identified. Subject 09A. Access level. Limited override detected. Sarah stepped back. "What the hell?" "The ship knows me now." Cal said, "I've been inside its systems, fought through every level. It's learning me, but I'm learning it faster." He began pressing commands. The display shifted. Surveillance feed loaded. Screens blinked on. Different rooms, holding chambers, control centers, and corridors. Dozens of guards, moving, but not in order. Panicking, they were searching for him. Sarah grinned. They're scared, they should be. He tapped again. A schematic appeared. The whole ship, massive, miles wide, hive-shaped, central brain core, guard barracks, prison wings. He stared at the layout. Memorized it. Then something else caught his eye. A sealed sector labeled in both alien script and English. Experimental life forms. Level 7 warning. Unstable. He frowned. Not just us. What? Sarah asked. They've got more than prisoners. They're building something. Another screen flicked on. A lab chamber inside. Tank filled with glowing fluid, floating in it part human, part alien. His stomach turned. Sarah stepped back, horrified. They're trying to make something. Blend our DNA with theirs. Cal's eyes narrowed. That's why they captured us. They're not just testing us, Sarah said slowly. They're studying. What makes us dangerous? Cal looked at the camera, then into the drone, watching above them. Then we show them, he said. He raised the alien staff and smashed the console. Sparks flew, lights across the ship flickered. Alarms blared. He turned to Sarah. We're done running. The hallway behind them lit up red dot footsteps. Dozens. He readied his weapon. We fight from here, one room at a time. Sarah raised her fists, eyes hard. Let's make them regret ever touching Earth. From the shadows, the guards arrived fast armored, ready to crush them. But the ship was different now. The AI was watching Cal learning, and in the power core, deep inside the crystal, a spark of human thought began to echo. A new voice whispered. In the code, it was angry, it was human, and it had just begun. The air in the ship grew heavier with each passing minute. Red lights strobed across the walls, bathing everything in a warning glow. The Zhutak had activated full lockdown. Cal Becker could hear the deep, metallic clunk of doors sealing across the vessel. Behind those doors, armored guards, hunter drones, and something worse. He and Sarah crouched in the broken console room, surrounded by shattered panels and sparking wires. The energy staff hummed in Cal's hand. Sarah had taken the fallen guard's armor plating and strapped it to her forearms like makeshift shields. Footsteps echoed down the hall, then silence. Cal looked at her. They're close. How many? It listened carefully. Too many, a sharp hiss. Then the wall beside them exploded inward. 3 guards burst through the hole taller, bulkier than before. Their armor gleamed with wet black metal. Their eyes glowed. The first raised its weapon. Cal moved first. He slammed the energy staff forward, sending a blast of blue light through the air. The first guard was flung back, smashing into the wall with a sickening crunch. The other 2 split up fast, flanking him. Sarah dove into one, slamming her armored forearm into its head. Sparks flew as she wrestled it to the ground. The last one charged at Cal, blade out. Cal ducked under the swing, jammed the staff into its side, then twisted. The thing shrieked as its chest cracked open. Green-black fluid sprayed across the floor. Silence returned. Sarah wiped her arm. These aren't like the others. No, Cal said. They've been modified, just like the lab specimen we saw.
Gee.
Looked around. They're desperate. They should be. More sirens howled through the ship. Then a voice filled the corridors. Alien glitching. But slowly, painfully, transforming into English. Subject 09A. Stand down. You will be neutralized. Sarah looked up at the ceiling. That's their ship AI. Cal nodded. It's learning our language or your voice. He didn't answer. He just moved forward, down the corridor, through the smoke and debris. The AI had seen him fight, had mapped his movements, and now it was interested. He reached a security door. The panel blinked red. Locked, Cal pressed his hand against it. The light flickered, then turned green. The door slid open. Sarah stared. You're inside their system. I'm not supposed to be, he muttered. But I am. They entered a new area, this one wider, filled with transparent walls and observation pods. Inside, other species. Some humanoid, some not, some still alive. Others barely In one cell, a reptilian alien stared at them, blinking slowly. It raised one clawed hand, then pointed toward the far corridor. "They know we're here," Sarah said. "No," Cal replied. "They know what I am now." She frowned. "What's that?" He looked at the ceiling, at the cameras tracking his every move. The problem. Behind them, the door sealed with a hiss. Then the voice returned. Clearer this time. "Primitive organism. ... Dangerous. Inefficient. Unpredictable. Adaptation required." Adaptation required. From the walls, panels slid open. Out stepped something new. Not just a guard, not just a drone, a hybrid. Tall, humanoid. But wrong. Its skin was a mix of flesh and Jutok metal. Its eyes glowed red and blue at once. It moved with terrifying grace. Sarah froze. "That's they finished their experiment," Cal said, "and they want to test it on me." Hybrid tilted its head, then rushed forward. Faster than anything so far, Cal barely blocked the first strike.
Ow.
His arms trembled from the impact. The hybrid ducked low, kicked him backward, then leaped at Sarah. She rolled under it, slicing at its leg with a scavenged guard blade. The hybrid stumbled just slightly, enough for Cal to strike back. The staff hit its back with a blast of energy, but instead of collapsing, the creature spun and grinned. It absorbed the energy. "That's new," Cal muttered. They backed away, side by side. The AI spoke again. "Test protocol active. Objective: observe human failure." Cal narrowed his eyes. "Let's give them something else to observe." He grabbed a metal bar from the floor, jammed it into the nearest energy line. Sparks flew, the lights above flickered, and then something unexpected happened. The hybrid screamed. It dropped to one knee, clawing at its skull. Sarah looked around. "What did you just do?" "I overloaded a neural relay," Cal said. "If they're blending our brains with theirs, human pain tolerance is messing with the interface." Use that. Cal ran at the creature, dodged its wild swing, then jammed the energy staff straight. Into the base of its skull, the hybrid howled and fell limp. Smoke rose from its back. He turned to the nearest camera. "I hope you're watching." Another door opened, this time without being touched. Sarah stared. "They want you to keep going." "No," Cal said.
Ow.
"They want to understand me, but they can't." He turned to her. "Because we're not like them. We don't follow patterns. We don't submit. We fight." He looked down at the hybrid's body, and when we get pushed too far, we win. They moved on. Deeper into the ship, the AI didn't speak again. Not yet. It was watching, calculating, adapting, but so was Cal. And soon, the real hunt would begin. The Zutok ship groaned around them like it was alive and afraid. Cal Becker and Sarah NG moved through its twisted corridors, weapons ready, steps silent. Behind them, smoke still rose from the hybrid's broken body. Cal hadn't looked. Back once, ahead, lights flickered. The hallway opened into a massive chamber lined with strange machines, pulsing organic wires, and broken glass tanks. Inside some of the tanks, things still twitched. Sarah stopped. "This place, it's not just a lab." "No," Cal said. "It's a breeding ground." The air was thick with heat and low vibrations, like the ship was warning its crew of danger. Cal stepped into the room, eyes scanning everything. Above them, observation windows glowed red. They were being watched. Again, always. Sarah walked to one of the shattered tanks and touched the edge. This one held a human. Cal moved beside her. Scorch marks. Blood. A deep claw gouge in the floor. "Not anymore," he said. The chamber shook. A low alarm started, a slow, rising hum that made the walls pulse and lights flicker red and blue in rhythm. It was not a warning, it was a signal. Something was coming. And this time, it wasn't a patrol. The ship's AI voice returned. Calm. Icy. Clear. Subject 09A. Initiated Stage 3. Target deemed uncontainable. Termination protocol unlocked. Cal grinned. Now we're getting somewhere. He turned to Sarah. We're not prisoners anymore. We're the threat, she said. No, he said. We're the rebellion. Suddenly the walls slid open on all sides. From the shadows, Jutok guards stepped out, dozens of them. Not drones, not hybrids, soldiers, real ones, fully armed, full armor, weapons humming. They were surrounded. Sarah tightened her grip on the energy blade. You got a plan? Cal said. Wreck everything. He lifted the stolen staff and hurled it into the nearest power conduit. A huge crack echoed through the room as energy exploded. From the wall, a burst of blue light fried 3 guards instantly. Chaos erupted. The guards opened fire. Green plasma bolts screamed across the chamber. Cal dove behind a console, yanked a panel off, and ripped out glowing wires. He jammed 2 together. The ceiling lights blew out. Darkness. Sarah used it, instantly moving like a shadow, slashing through enemies with quiet, deadly precision. Cal came up firing with a stolen plasma pistol, dropping 2 more Jutok in a heartbeat. Kept coming. Too many. The air filled with smoke and the stench of burning armor. Cal grabbed Sarah's shoulder. Fall back there. He pointed to a maintenance hatch near the wall. They sprinted for it, dodging fire, Sarah tossing a fuel cell behind them. It exploded, blasting the chamber with fire. They dived into the hatch just before the ceiling, caved in behind them. Silence. Darkness. Just their breathing and the distant hum of the ship's broken systems. They crawled through the vent tunnel, which twisted like a throat. The walls were damp, soft like flesh. It wasn't just metal anymore. This ship was grown as much as built. Sarah whispered, "This place is alive." Cal didn't answer. Was thinking, calculating. Every move the Jutok made was cleaner, faster, smarter. They weren't just reacting anymore. They were learning, and so was the AI. He stopped suddenly. The tunnel opened into a chamber below, quiet, unlit. He dropped in, landing silently. Sarah followed. This room was different. Rows of stasis pods lined the walls. Inside them humans, dozens, all unconscious. Hooked to machines, some wore military gear, others civilian. One still clutched a photo of a family. Sarah froze. Oh my God. Cal stepped forward, staring through the glass. These were the failures, he said. The ones who couldn't fight back. No, Sarah said. The ones they were studying. He walked to a console. It activated the moment he touched it. Genetic scans, complete human adaptation index, 97.2%. Neural resistance rating, exceptionally high. Psychological resilience, non-standard pattern. Conclusion, threat. Classification read. Sarah read the screen aloud. They know. We're different. That's why they can't control you. They're afraid, Cal said. And when something fears you... He opened one of the stasis pods. The human inside gasped and sat up, choking. A young woman in combat gear. You can lead. She looked at Cal, confused, weak. Who are you? Someone who got out, he said. Now it's your turn. One by one, they opened more pods. Each time, a human woke up, confused, scared, but alive. Sarah looked around. We can't fight our way out with this many people. They'll be slaughtered, no, Cal said. We don't fight our way out. He walked to the central control panel and stared into the black screen. I'm going to take their ship. Sarah blinked. You're insane, he grinned. Only a little. The AI spoke again, this time not through words, but through static that burned in his head. A challenge. A final line. You cannot. When Cal leaned toward the interface. You already lost, he said softly. You just don't know it yet. He reached out and began to hack the heart of the ship. This wasn't an escape anymore. It was a rebellion. The human was. Now inside the hive, the ship trembled. Not from weapons fire. It's not from impact. It trembled from within, deep in the command chamber of the Jutok vessel. Alien commanders circled the central neural core. Lights blinked furiously. Energy patterns stuttered. Alerts flashed across the translucent walls. Something had gone wrong. Very wrong. Subject 09 has breached command-level systems. A technician hissed, its mandibles twitching in disbelief. He should not have this access. He's not connected. To the hive, another barked. This is not possible. Yet it was happening. Cal Becker stood in front of the control console, hands moving with eerie calm. His eyes flicked between alien symbols and rapidly changing code, most of it unreadable. But it didn't matter. He understood it now. Not with logic, not with language. With instinct, the AI resisted. It launched firewalls, encrypted data, energy feedback loops. Cal smiled. He had faced freezing mountains, days without food, predators stalking him in darkness. A digital wall wasn't going to stop him now. Behind him, Sarah watched nervously. Around them, dozens of rescued humans leaned against walls. Armed with scavenged weapons, slowly regaining their strength. They didn't know how much time they had, but they knew. Cal was doing something insane. He was taking the ship. You sure? About this? Sarah asked. Nope, Cal said, still working. But I've learned one thing about these Jutok. They expect everything to follow the same pattern. He pressed a final sequence. They've never met humans like us. The lights flickered across the ship. Doors slammed shut. Hallways realigned. The entire layout of the vessel began to shift. In the observation deck above, the alien commanders howled in confusion. The hive structures being rewritten. Rerouting internal systems. Overriding neural command layers. One pounded its claws on the console. Stop him. Too late, all across the ship. Things changed. Automatic defenses turned inward. Turrets locked onto their own guards. Sensors went dark in the guard barracks. Warriors prepared for deployment, anxiously for the walls to collapse around them. The room was sealed. Lights cut out. In the prison wings, doors burst open, not just for the humans Cal had saved, but for every prisoner. Alien captives, rebel species, creatures long forgotten. Freedom spread like wildfire. Back in the command core, Cal gripped the console as it sparked. The AI shrieked through the speakers, high-pitched, furious, and strangely frightened. You are not Hive. You are error. You do not belong. I know, Cal said. That's what makes me dangerous. Then he did something the Jutok never expected. He spoke directly to the prisoners across every deck. Every language, every mind. The AI translated it automatically. I had no choice. This is Cal Becker, he said. You were taken, caged, treated like nothing. But they made a mistake. They put a wild thing in their system. Now their system is breaking. He paused. Take the weapons. Take the halls. Take everything. We're not escaping. We're invading. The ship roared. From every section, chaos erupted. Alien prisoners rose up. Human captives found strength they didn't know they had. Enemies stood side by side, united in one truth. The Jutok were not invincible. They were vulnerable, and now they were prey. Sarah turned to him. Where are we heading? Bridge Cal said. We end this at the top. They moved fast. Weapons drawn. Their growing army followed humans, aliens. Hybrids guards tried to stop them. They were crushed. One hallway at a time. The ship fell into rebellion, but the Jutok weren't finished. At the highest level of the Hive, the Supreme Commander activated the final Falsifa last weapon, the Core Guardian, 10 feet tall, multiple limbs, built from the same living alloy as the ship itself. Its body shimmered with energy. Its mind was linked directly to the AI. Pure willpower. And one mission. Kill the human. Cal and Sarah reached the central bridge. Just as the doors opened, the Guardian stepped out. It didn't speak. It attacked. Faster than anything they'd faced. Cal was knocked across the room in the first hit. Armor shattered. Sarah barely dodged a plasma blade aimed at her throat. Their weapons sparked. Uselessly against the thing's armor. It wasn't a machine. It was evolutionized to beat everything Cal had done so far, and still, he stood up, bleeding, bruised, unshaken. You think you're the future? He spat. You're a copy. He looked past the Guardian at the throne. Behind it, the central neural spine of the ship, glowing, pulsing. He didn't need to kill the Guardian, he just needed to outthink it. He shouted. Sorrel did it left. She dove and ran. The Guardian chased her instantly, slicing through consoles. Roaring in synthetic rage, Cal sprinted the other way. He reached the core and pulled something from his belt. Small power cell, stolen earlier, overloaded now. Barely stable, he slammed it into the control socket. The core screamed. Energy surged through the room. The Guardian froze mid-step, twitching violently. The lights blew out. Silence then. Everything powered back on. Blue light. Not Jutok red. The ship shifted, and the AI whispered one last word acknowledged. Cal looked up. He was standing on the bridge of an alien warship, and he was in control. Sarah stared at him, half laughing, half in awe. You just hijacked an entire species flagship. Cal wiped blood from his mouth. No. He turned to the screen showing the chaos below. I just declared war. The stars outside the viewports flickered as the massive Jutok warship broke from its patrol path. But it wasn't retreating. It was advancing toward the Jutok homeworld. Inside, everything had changed. The bridge, once pulsing with red alien light and hive language, now glowed soft blue. The neural control lines responded to a new frequency, a human one. The hive AI was silent. Not destroyed, not defeated, just listening. Cal Becker stood at the center of the bridge, out on the command platform on the floor. No throne, no ceremony. He didn't need to sit to lead. Behind him, Sarah Ng leaned against a console, armor scorched, face bruised, but eyes sharp. And behind her, a crowd of freed prisoners, humans, aliens, hybrids stood, ready, quiet, watching. No one spoke. They were waiting for Cal to say something. He didn't. He simply pointed at the main screen where the Jutok homeworld slowly came into view, vast, fortress-like. Dozens of hive towers reaching into orbit. Swarms of warships circling it like bees around a nest. Cal looked at the gathered group. They're going to try to stop us. One of the alien prisoners, a tall gray-skinned warrior with 4 arms, stepped forward. They fear us now. They should, Cal said. Alarms triggered across the ship, but they weren't warning of an attack. They were requests for communication. From the Jutok, over 300 ships were hailing them. Sarah blinked. They think we've taken a hostage ship. No, Cal said. They know we've taken it. They're begging for surrender. She stared at him. What are you going to say? He turned to the console. Tapped one key. The screen flashed, broadcasting to Jutok Empire Live. Then he spoke. Your experiments failed. Your hybrids failed. Your Guardian failed. He leaned forward. You took a man from Earth. You wanted to test him, break him, learn from him. You did. He paused. But what you learned wasn't how to win. He looked straight into the camera, into the face of the Empire. You learned what happens when a human decides to fight back. On the Jutok world, across every hive, every command deck, the image of Cal Becker flickered on. Incomplete, broken, barely translated, but powerful. A primitive. In control of their strongest ship, surrounded by those they thought were prey, and that primitive was coming home. One of the Jutok commanders, an elder with dozens of neural implants, snarled. He cannot command the fleet. He is not hive. A technician turned, eyes wide. Doesn't need to be. The AI has accepted him. Then killed the ship, the elder screamed. Sir, the ship disabled our override. He watched as the warship drew closer. Back on the bridge, Cal opened a map of the Empire nodes connected by thick lines, pulsing like veins. He tapped one hive world. Message them all, he said. Sarah raised an eyebrow. What message? He smiled grimly. Earth is not your hunting ground. He tapped another node. And we're not your test subjects. Another node. We're not running. Final node. We're bringing the war to you. The console screen flared. The command was simple. Full system infection, distribute AI signal. Sarah's jaw dropped. You're uploading the AI to their whole fleet? No. Cal said, I'm uploading me. The infected AI now, shaped by Cal's thoughts, instincts, and defiance, began to spread. 1 Utah ship, then 3, then 17, then 50. Commands were reversed, orders canceled, firepower disabled. The fleet crumbled before it. Ever fired a shot? On the Utah homeworld, systems shut down. Their mighty hives flickered, their drones collapsed. In one message, repeated across every speaker in their tongue, we are human, we do not kneel, we do not forget. In space, the warship hovered silently above their capital hive, unmoving, unflinching, victorious. Sarah turned. To Cal, voice quiet. So, what now? Cal stared at the planet below. His knuckles were white against the console. Didn't speak for a long time. Then finally, now we go home. He turned to the crowd of survivors. You all have a choice. Stay, fight, rebuild, or come with me. They didn't answer with words. They just followed. As Cal Becker, human survivalist, walked off the bridge of an alien warship, and not a prisoner, not a test subject, but the first human in history to win a war. Alone, and this was only the beginning. The Utah Empire collapsed in silence, not with the scream of warships falling, nor the rumble of planets cracking, but with the quiet, terrible stillness of fear. A fear they had never felt before, because a single human had touched their core systems, and one Cal Becker stood on the observation deck of the captured warship, now repurposed and renamed by the survivors aboard it, the Defiant. Below them, Earth shimmered like a jewel blue and green, untouched by the horrors that had taken so many others, but not untouched by change it had been. 93 days since Cal's escape from the hybrid labs. Since the rebellion. Since the Utah hives lost contact with 78% of their fleet, the infection Cal started the AI reshaped by human logic. Human chaos, human will, continued spreading, not to destroy, but to free. Across the galaxy, Utah drones collapsed. No longer bound by the hive link, across the stars. Prisoners of hundreds of species stepped out of cages with new hope. And now, Defiant was returning home not to bring fear, but to deliver a warning. Inside, the bridge hummed with new life. Humans and aliens worked together, rough, tense, but functional. Sarah and G coordinated defense systems now redesigned with human controls. The tall, four-armed alien Cal had freed crate-monitored fleet transmissions. Even the AI, now named Echo, responded with something like respect. Cal stepped onto the bridge. No armor, no weapons. Just a worn Earth Forces jacket and the deep, quiet look of a man who had seen too much and came back anyway. Sarah looked up. They're hailing us. Who is? Everyone. Earth defense, civilian governments, orbital colonies. Even old Earth rival factions long thought divided. All watching one ship, one man. Cal nodded. Put me through. The screens lit up. With faces, some human, some not, all waiting, all afraid to ask the real question. Who are you? Someone finally said. Cal didn't answer right away. He stared at Earth, then back at the screen. I'm Cal Becker, he said. I was taken by the Utah. They tried to study me, break me, turn me into a weapon. Paused, then smiled. Grimly, turns out I was already one. Some chuckles, nervous, disbelieving, he continued. I hijacked their ship, freed their prisoners, brought their empire to its knees. Not with a fleet, not with super weapons. It's just with what humans always use when we're outnumbered, our brains. Or silence. Sarah leaned closer to the mic. He's not exaggerating. Cal turned back to the screen, but I didn't come back for parades. He pointed downward toward the planet. I came back because Earth needs to prepare. We were lucky this time. But the galaxy's full of empires like the Utah. We can't stay small. We can't stay divided. We need to evolve. Silence was heavier now. The meaning. Cleary didn't just come home with a warship. He came home with a call to action, and Earth listened. In the days that followed, the Defiant didn't land, it became a hub, a meeting point, a command center, a symbol. The infected Jutok ships that had fallen into Cal's control became the beginning of something new, the Free Fleet. Human engineers studied the tech, alien survivors volunteered to help. The AI Echo, once a tool of the hive, now whispered advice drawn from hundreds of species. But at the heart of it all was Cal, not a soldier, not a politician, just a survival expert from the Rocky Mountains, who reminded everyone what humans really are: dangerous when cornered, terrifying when prepared, and unstoppable when united. One night on the top deck of the Defiant, Sarah joined him. He stared at the stars, quiet as always. She spoke first. "Do you ever think about going back to the woods?" He didn't look at her, just nodded. "All the time." "So why stay out here?" He finally turned, his voice low. "Because someone has to." He gestured toward the stars. "They thought we were prey. Then they thought we were pests." Smiled. "Now they know better." Sarah grinned. "Now they know we're predators." "No," he said. "Predators hunt for food. We hunt for freedom." Above them, the Free Fleet engines flared. Hundreds of ships, human and alien, no longer hiding, no longer running. For the first time, the galaxy had a new player on the board. Not an empire, not a conqueror, just one stubborn species with a knack for surviving the impossible and teaching others to do the same. And as the Free Fleet launched into the unknown, one final message echoed from the Defiant across the stars: "We're not afraid of the dark, 'cause we are the dark." HFY.